Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. The second week where I'm actually producing this live, all on my own. Hopefully we have a better week than last week. Okay, here we go. Wow, I never thought we would get here with events, but we're talking about it. We're talking about Netflix and what we can learn. I think it's such a cool, inspiring topic, and I'm delighted to be joined by truly an industry titan who, let's be honest, she penned the blog post that started this whole idea for this particular show. So more on that to come, but let's dive straight in. So announcements. We sent out, well, first of all, on the last week's show, I announced that we have 500 free tickets to the C2 2020 event with the likes of Gary Vee, Malcolm Gladwell, and Jane Fonda speaking. If you didn't get that invite, you missed it somehow, let me know, email me, respond to any of the weekly show emails, and let me know, and I will hook you up and send one out. It starts next week, so make sure you get your tickets now. Okay, so we're all about Netflix this week and learning lessons. So I thought, let's talk about on-demand, the on-demand capability within SpotMe, and particularly the actual experience from a user perspective. So here you can see that I've mocked up a page not dissimilar to the weekly show, right? You launch into the weekly show page on our experience for the show, and you get that list of topics by date, and you can click in and it sends you to the session. Well, here I kind of change things up a bit. Instead of just like a very wordy page, this is now a visual page with big images that also do the same thing. You click on them and they link straight into the session that we're talking about. So you could have, obviously when you have recordings and things, this would be the same way it works in the weekly show. You click on here, you end up at the session and you can view the recording, no problem. But I want to show you how this works behind the scenes, how easy it is to add something to that page and how easy it is to edit it. So here what I've done is I've landed on my workspace or campaign demo for the weekly show. I've gone to content and I'm on pages. So I'm going to go there again. Now, the pages are really the heart and soul of any experience, and you can edit them, you can drag and drop them. And I've been showing you over the weeks how to do that in various ways for feedback, for the conversations, for the agenda pages, anything you like. And you can see here the discussion forums, glossary, community. Literally, you can have any type of pages and drag and drop. But for this week, we're going to edit the program page. And as you can see here, here's my two that I already had on there. And I want to, first of all, add a third one. So I'm going to add an image. I'm going to choose that image. So we have speakers and we have engagement. So I'm going to add booths. So I already had an image uploaded. That's an important step that I'd pre-done. And the other important step is I'm going to link it to a session. Now you can see literally these images, and this is why these pages in the experience are so versatile, because they can literally link to anything. But in this particular case, I'm going to link it to a session. And I've already pre-set up the session. So I'm going to choose virtual booths for this particular image. And the other important thing that I've done ahead of time, which I missed last week, which is why people missed the first 10 minutes of the show, is I linked this session to a live stream. Now that's important, because if you don't do that, there either won't be an on-demand video or a live show linked to that session. So when people land on the session page, they won't see anything, which is what happened to me last week. But we've sorted that all out this week. And so I've linked this image to the right image and the right session for me. So let's just go back in and see what that now looks like, just to check that it worked, and just to show you that how easy it is. So we click back on this page and refresh it. Here I have the two that I originally had, my speaking tips, virtual engagement, and now I have the virtual booths. And if I click on this, like I said, here's the video ready for me to watch. But what happens if instead of going down the page, I want to actually have people scroll horizontally? Well, that's again very easy to do. So let's have a look at how that might work. So I already have my three sessions on here so far. What I'm going to do now is look at the behaviors of the page. And these really, depending on what I add here, really tells the page how literally to behave when the user's on it. And so I'm going to go down to available new behaviors. And you can see I could add conditional logic. I could add randomization. But for this one, I'm going to add the slideshow behavior, which adds that horizontal effect. And now I've added that, I'm going to go back in. Sorry, I'm chopping and changing a lot this morning. Usually I do it a bit smoothly than this, but let's see what it looks like now. So I'm back on the same page. And what you'll see is there's a progress bar at the top. And you can see that there's a very simple horizontal now navigation for this page. So just a very simple way to do the same thing, a bit more visual than we do for the weekly show, and just something to think about. And like I say, very inspired by Netflix. Now, there's nothing to say that you couldn't have different horizontal categories and have different, like you could have comedy, romance, horror, and you could have different titles within those horizontal scrolls. That's fine as well. So very much everything can be on demand. It can also be live, don't forget, so people can click in like you guys do for the weekly show, and it can be starting in 2 days or 19 hours or whatever that may be. But just wanted to play around, show you what's possible and how easy it is. So there we go. On to the topic of the week. Now listen, my guest is truly an industry titan. I told you that before. She's a former EVP of BizBash Media. She's now the founder of NP Collective. I'm absolutely delighted to have her on the show. And not only that, she penned the blog post way back when. She started talking about this stuff literally in March and April. She penned the blog post that inspired this show. So please welcome Nicole Peck to the show. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, Tom. Okay, you've said the word Titan twice. So
it's true. It's true.
It's crazy, but I'm really excited to be able to have my son now watch this on demand in a little bit so that he really does understand that I'm the Titan of the house. So thank you, Tom. I really appreciate that.
No worries. And let me just say how festive you're looking in behind you there. I love the pumpkin. It's awesome. Autumnal.
Thank you. It's very important to have your vignette, your rectangular vignette set up, for any live shot through the computer.
I love it. Very professional.
Thank you.
Listen, we're talking about the Netflixification of events. But what is that? What inspired you to pen that article? Because it was it's not even an article, it's an open letter. Let's just call it what it is. What inspired you?
So thanks, Tom. So it actually was an open love letter and plea to the events industry to stop fighting the Netflixification of content consumption. And I think that might be my word. I don't know if that's a sniglet or what type of a word that is.
I certainly borrowed it. Yeah.
I think it's mine. And, what really prompted that, and this has been a topic that I've been passionate and bullish about probably since February, March, when I sensed and knew that our world was going to move online, right? Yeah. From in person to predominantly online. And sort of back in the spring or even winter at that point, I was starting to get irritated at the amount of events that were moving into a digital environment. And some of them, let's be honest, were flat out webinars that were being promoted as a live event, which in fact, simply a webinar, 2 talking heads, no interaction. Yeah. And they were asking me to sit down in front of my computer screen for an entire day and treating it the same way as they treated their in-person events. So back in March, I was frustrated and thinking to myself, as we were being sort of inundated with content of, you need to have yoga in the middle of your day and wellness, and you need to make sure that you're doing this, and that. And I was like, wait a second. I'm doubling as a chef right now, a homeschool teacher, tripling as a homeschool teacher. I'm also the resident cleaning lady. And I'm still trying to keep afloat, keep engaged within my industry, and learn and grow. So my time commitment is not the same as it was. And not. I mean, it's
how could it be? How could it be? Literally.
This is different. And I had sort of an aha moment at some point over the summer when a client of mine called and said, we're working on an event, and in years past, day one, we always spend on certification, and day two, we always do our education workshops and keynotes, and day three is our exhibit hall. We want to follow that same pattern. And I said to them, what makes you think someone's going to sit on their tush for 3 days in a row to do this? That is not how we consume content anymore. And we have to start thinking about ourselves as producers and production people a la Netflix. And Tom and I, you and I chatted a little bit earlier that I'm sure someone can confirm
Fact check. Yeah.
It's been since 2013. And that's when Netflix released House of Cards as one season.
Which blew my mind. I can't believe it's been that long, but
it's been that long. I mean, we're 7+ years. And I'm sure, you like me, it's kind of the badge of honor of 2020 to recite all of the various, shows we've now consumed, right, in 2020.
Yeah, it is.
So why not lean in? And I think actually the weekly show is a great example of a set date and time on a calendar when your customers or prospective customers can tune in, learn something about the platform, get educated. If it works in their day, great, they join at this time. If not, it resides in on demand and they'll consume if it's a topic that's of interest to them.
Well, it's funny you say that because for our show, we get 5 to 10 times more on-demand viewers than we do live. And so you're right. You're absolutely right. People naturally, even though there's a set time and place, like you say, people have conflicts, right? We were talking about this before the show. People have conflicts. They don't necessarily have the time in that moment that is convenient, that you've decided is convenient for you as the host or planner.
Exactly. Plus the advantages of digitizing our events or really going into, this virtual community, digital community, is the borders just disappeared.
Yeah.
So now you might have prospective customers, clients, partners across the world, let alone 2 time zones.
Yeah.
I think about those pre-pandemic days when I used to set a time for a webinar that we knew was mostly North American participants, we would pick a time around 1 p.m. Eastern because we knew that was late enough, but not early enough for the Pacific, for our West Coast folk.
Yep.
And East Coast was fine. And perhaps if we had a few coming in from Europe or the UK, it wasn't too late in the day.
Yeah.
Now we might be attracting people in April. So 11 a.m. sure does not work for an Asian prospect. Certainly
doesn't. And I got a ton of emails from Asia actually asking about that. So it's a point that I understand very well. It's funny because you talk about 2013 and there was clearly an element of this consumer. And listen, it doesn't matter whether you're B2B, whoever you are, these are people. These are people with real lives, to your point, right? They're consuming your whatever information and content you're trying to get to them. But there's Netflix, House of Cards, 2013. So there's clearly been this change in people's expectations. We were just talking about our kids and how they don't even get the concept of having to wait for something to come on and flick through the adverts and get frustrated with how many adverts there are. That's gone. It's even foreign to me now. But there was clearly that build up and that change. But the crisis also added something, right? It thrust us into this virtual world, which I think has just expedited this whole experience and these expectations. Because like you said, right, you're a mum, you have like 4 different hats to wear in a single day and run a business and serve your clients as well as you do. Like, it's just impossible. Is that right? Are you seeing it in the same way? Is that how you see it as well?
Absolutely. And when I think about, so I have this philosophy when it comes to events, which works in person. No surprise, right, Tom? I'm going to share my philosophy. So I believe for any event to be successful, that you first need to get to warmth. And once you achieve warmth, outcomes will be activated. So that warmth, right, can be experienced in person, usually much quicker. and also online. So what has been so sort of impressive to me, or maybe shocking to me, is I'm part of a women's networking group within the exhibitions industry, and we meet every Wednesday and have been since I think March.
Okay.
These women I consider allies, mentors, sponsors. They are incredible. And I look forward to my Wednesday call with them every single week. I think I've only missed 2 since March. That's how important it is to me, because there's value in that meeting. I have gotten to warmth with all of those participants, or most of them, and it's the same cast of characters every single week. So to me, that is the proof in the pudding, so to speak, that if you provide value and content and you give your audience, your community, constituents, whomever that is, true value in the rectangle, they will return weekly at the same time, once a month at the same time, just as you would host your in-person events maybe or your sales meetings. When I think about, I would hold my sales meetings at 1 p.m., I think, 1 p.m. every Tuesday. And or nothing, every single one of the members of my sales team was required to be in that meeting. And most of them were remote, and we were on a Zoom screen for that particular window. There were rules, right? You had to have your video on. You really shouldn't have been driving. Nobody was on mute, so that, we knew everybody was engaged. But just those set meetings would work. And within the context of an online event or community, give me reason to be there and I'll show up live. Otherwise, I'll watch you on demand when I'm cooking dinner.
Fair enough. That's I feel like that is we could have a whole show on that, the value of on demand versus live. There is a question come in. Josip's asking, what sort of events, if any, are you binge watching? Is anyone, I didn't directly want to ask you this, but is anyone actually releasing a pile of events and content in one go that you've binge watched?
So I'm not entirely sure that I have binge watched an entire group of content. Like, for instance, Zoomtopia was yesterday, and I did not participate live. I had other obligations. So on one hand, they did an entire day's worth of content that you were live, you could participate. I will probably consume quite a few of those sessions, sort of at my leisure. So that's an idea. To me, the other obvious example is TED, the TED conferences.
Of course.
And again, I'm not sure if I'm answering that. Did they release on demand? But I will go hours at a time sometimes consuming TED Talks.
Oh, I mean, talk about that mentality of thinking like a TV producer more than a theater producer. I mean, that's TED in a nutshell, right? Okay, let's get down to it. Okay. If you were going to host an event with this mindset, what would you do? What would the format be? What would the agenda be? Give it us top to bottom. Nicole Peck.
So it's really interesting that you said that, because I actually presented a framework on this last week in a hack that I participated in. But my partner, Sean Chen, who works over with MCI, and I at MCI. So we sort of presented this idea, and it was a hack of an association, but it's appropriate to share here. And what we were suggesting is that you conduct the same type of content on a specific day. For instance, make your Thursdays all about talent, right? And make that about recruitment into an industry or an association or into your company, how to support your talent. Maybe Tuesdays is Topical Tuesdays, where you're releasing your thought leadership, your content into an environment. But most importantly, what we all need at this point, and what every event organizer has the capability of providing, is a forum to convene buyers and sellers, right? That's how we're going to make money. We have to continue to justify our reason and our events as this community, right? We still are the mayors, if we're doing this correctly, of our respective communities. So we need to connect buyers and sellers. And this is where I get, I can salivate and get so excited about the digital opportunity, because we have all of this data now. So I don't need to waste my time on bad meetings. if I have let the organizer know that I am looking for content on X, Y, and Z and looking for solutions or partners on PQX, you better deliver those connections to me. You can deliver it in content, in company connections, and in contacts.
Yeah.
And get me in contact. And now you have real value to your community.
I love that. I think that's, I don't know, I don't want to comment before the crisis, but I think people maybe took for granted the brevity and the importance of thinking about the experience, and quite rightly, right after the crisis. But it's understandable, right? People are in this reactionary mode, that they're in their personal lives, they're thinking, wow, what does this mean for me? Of course, in their professional lives, they're also struggling with those questions. So I get it, but now feels like the real right time to be thinking about all these things. And you just happen to be a thought leader and way ahead of the game, but in my mind, but it's good. We as an industry, as technology companies, as planners, professionals, we need to be talking about these things, because this is the reality of the world we now live in.
Absolutely.
Who knows how long? The other thing that, as we started talking about Netflix over the last couple of weeks, it kind of got me thinking about, wow, what else does Netflix do? I mean, they have this binge-worthy content. They have an amazing experience and a platform where you can find whatever you need. But the other exciting thing for me, and I'm keen to get your thoughts, is the notifications and the marketing that goes around that. That like literally build personalized nurturing for every individual. Okay, they have a fancy algorithm, but there's no reason why, as an event industry and event professionals, we shouldn't be thinking about nurturing people to get them back in, keeping them up to date with the content and what's available in a way that is contextual to who I am and what I want to consume. Thoughts, reaction?
So thoughts, and I'm old enough to remember this, but a few years back, I remember actually giving a presentation on the need to personalize our marketing and outreach to our audience, to stop treating everybody as if they were the same. And the example I gave was when I used to go to Blockbuster. In Blockbuster, there was, and this is not a unique example for Nicole to give, I spoke about myself in the third person, but you would go into into Blockbuster, and there would be the first shelf, and it was Tom's recommendations, and it was all the movies Tom had watched. Then there were Nicole's recommendations, right? And you didn't know anything about Tom to know if you were in alignment with his views or not, right? Netflix changed the game on that, to your point. Yeah. Where now I log on and I select which member of my family, and it's automatically, okay, Nicole, okay, like right now I'm, really annoyed that the Great British Baking Show does not release as a full season. So now I have to check in weekly to get the newest episode. But so I have all of my recommendations. And to that point, Netflix knows that I watch that. So I will get an alert when the Great British Baking Show is up again next, or because I watch so-and-so, an email will be personalized to my consumption needs. Again, I'm going to take this right back to the beauty of the digital platform. We know what content is being consumed by our community. And if we know they've consumed something, we need to take advantage of that to say, wow, you participated or watched Nicole and Tom's weekly chat. You should do X, Y, and Z because these are topics that were very similar in nature. We're being fed all of this incredible data now on our community, and let's capitalize on it and really deliver something special to those that are in the environment.
I couldn't agree more, and even on the weekly show we have a ways to go, but I think this is definitely the way it's heading. And I will just say what has surprised me in talking to people is that you would think that the level of data in order to feed that type of nurture, that personalization, let alone the ability to literally personalize everything from menu options to the sessions that people see, is available in a ubiquitous form across virtual event platforms. But shockingly, it doesn't seem to be. And my concern is that you have to be very careful pick SpotMe, don't pick SpotMe. This isn't a plug for SpotMe. This is a plug for event industry, B2B marketing, whoever you are picking a tech platform. Make sure that the data and the actual platform can actually deliver on your aspirations, right? Because this is not easy stuff. Like behind Netflix algorithm, they have a ton of data sets things working behind the scenes. This isn't plug and play. This isn't like as simple as I get a platform and it's done for me necessarily yet. It will be one day, but you've got to make sure the things are there behind the scenes. Have you seen the differences? Have you seen anything?
I've seen some that do it better than others. Let me put it that way. But I think that the tip that I would give to those that are producing events or looking to source the technology is to be upfront with your community as to the why you are asking the questions you are.
Love it.
So I've had people say to me, "Oh, please, Nick, like you want to ask 7 questions of them or 4 questions." I blow through those questions just to get to the next screen. Well, that's dumb. That's then you're wasting your time. I can't help you if you're not willing to help yourself. Yeah. But if you were to put a simple message before your questions that says, please answer these questions as accurately as possible, as it will help us deliver a more refined and targeted program for you, or something similar to that.
Right.
Then you've changed this, you framed it differently. And, we know now that privacy is kind of no longer an issue, right? Especially like my kid, he'll pop in and be like, "Oh, Mom, I'm about to download something," because we have rules in my house what he can and can't download. But every time you put a new app onto your phone, who's really reading the privacy policy? You're going straight through it. So people now are they're okay to give information to you, but just tell me how you're going to use it. And if you tell me it's because you're going to match me with better partners, or you're going to find me solutions that are more in tune with my needs, I'll tell you whatever you need to know. Time is my most precious of what is it? Entities, components, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, keep me tight. I'm a New Yorker, right? Quick, to the point, and let's get out. We'll bond, right? You and I, we've already gotten to warmth in our rectangle, but be respectful of my time.
I love that, the rectangle and the warmth. As a marketer, that kind of excites me, just because it's just a different, nice way of thinking about it. I love that. Okay, you've got a number of blog posts that I absolutely adore. You have another one this week that I would encourage everyone to check out. Where can people find out more information? Where do they head? What do we share with them? So
on all social platforms, I'm Nicole Peck 212. Okay. So you can find me on Twitter, although I'm not too active on that lately, Instagram and LinkedIn, and I usually post to my post there. But otherwise, my website is np-collective, and you can find my blog on my website as well.
Perfect, and we'll share all that with the in our show notes for anyone logging in on the SpotMe platform. So definitely check out Nicole. Listen, guys, I think the message is clear. Pay attention. Like, if you really want to strike that warmth with people and develop a serious feeling of community and relationship with people, you've got to be taking your cues from how people are consuming their content in a natural format, right? We've got to be paying attention to the likes of Netflix, the likes of Hulu. I don't subscribe to Hulu, so I don't know if they exactly follow, but I'm assuming they do have a similar kind of setup. We've got to be paying attention to these things and using these cues, learning the lessons, and please stop resisting the Netflixification of events. per Nicole. There you go. Thank you so much to my guest, Nicole, this week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And listen, thank you everybody for tuning in, live or on demand. We love you all the same. And let me know if you didn't get your invite for C2 2020. Totally free. So let me know, email me and let me know. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.